Hello, I'm Jeff Jablonski, and today we're going to talk about peer-to-peer file sharing, how it works, and its economic impact. Peer-to-peer, or P2P as it is also known, is a way for files such as documents, music, videos, and video games to be shared amongst a group of users. These peers can search for documents located on other peers' computers and download those files to their own computers over the internet. This model is a distributed manner of hosting the file in multiple locations, as opposed to the centralized model, which would be hosting the file on a server and having that server service all the individuals. The act of sharing files in this manner is not illegal in itself. However, legal issues have arisen, when the peers share content that is protected by copyright. So first, how does it work? Well, let's assume that we've got a group of peers 1 through 4. Peer 1 would create a metadata document called a torrent, and that simply has information about the file. It is not the file itself. And then Peer 1 lists that torrent on a tracker server. Now Peer 2 is going to search for that torrent using whatever search terms they need to find it, and the tracker will inform Peer 2 that the file lives on Peer 1's computer. Peer 2 would then directly connect with Peer 1 and download the file. That's the origin of the peer-to-peer connection. They're not connecting via the tracker, but the tracker is orchestrating their connection. So now Peer 1 and Peer 2 both have copies of that file, and Peer 3 is going to search for that torrent, and the tracker knows that Peer 1 and Peer 2 both have that file. The tracker will tell Peer 3 that it can download that file from both Peer 1 and Peer 2, and it can actually do so simultaneously. Peer 4 and through Peer Infinity can do the same, and the more and more people that are hosting a file, or as they say, seeding that file, the more reduced load on each individual computer that's being requested for that data, because if you have 1,000 people that are all sharing one file, then each person can only give up 1,000th of that file to give the requester a complete file. Now, the relationship of these users can be thought of as a network, but they're not physically networked in any more robust way than they are to any other person connected to the internet. They're merely visible to each other via the tracker and the torrent client and their own torrent client applications, and are working in concert with one another. But they don't have any special networking cables or physical connections to each other other than their own internet connections. So the economic impact of peer-to-peer file sharing is contested on the sides of copyright holders and those who share those files. The copyright holders claim billions in lost economic benefit. The Motion Picture Association of America estimates that they lose $20.5 billion a year, and the Recording Industry Artists Association states that post-Napster U.S. revenues have almost dropped in half. While the sharers claim they aren't hurting anyone, since a digital copy costs nothing to make, and not every person who downloads a movie for free would have bought a full-price copy. So, since the price of physically distributed content is inflated by shipping and printing costs, since they have an alternative that is free, they object to paying that inflated price. Now, it is shown that after Mega Upload was shut down by the US, that the motion picture studios did actually see an increase in paying customers. So it does go to prove that illegal downloading does siphon off paying customers. But there's also something to be said for the fact that peer-to-peer sharing is on the decline. It used to be 60% of traffic, and now it's down to 10%. And what that signals is that instant purchase options and streaming options like Netflix and Amazon are offering an alternative model where both parties can benefit. Now, what that means is that file sharing has actually forced copyright holders to examine their distribution model to compete against free. And that sharing model is robust and distributed and gets more efficient the more people share.